Hey Motorheads, it's your boy MP coming to you live and direct from the Hella Mega headquarters out here in beautiful San Francisco, California. I know the fog behind me does not show it, but the weather out here has been really lovely. And the car on the menu is a hard one for me to talk about in at least under 10 minutes, and that is the Porsche 914. I have a very big soft spot for this car, and this was actually a video request, and I'm really excited about that because I used to really badly want a 914, so I'm really pretty well read on the car. But the 914 is a car that I want to hit on a couple bulletins with you. This is definitely one. This is a car that the model year that you are looking at plays a significant role in if this is a yay or nay purchase for you. And two, along with that model year is the engine option that you're looking at. It's going to play a significant role if this is a yay or nay thing for you. Three, you have to understand the cost that's going to be involved with owning one of these and picking the right one out, because there's a lot of loopholes to the 914 that can, really leave a bad taste in your mouth. And four, I'm going to start this video off with really touching on the 914 in terms of how revolutionary this car was, how innovative it was, and why a lot of people aren't really well read on it that need to be well read on it if you're a real gearhead or a motorhead like myself. The 914 was basically one of many collaborations that Porsche and Volkswagen did together to build a product. And the reason why there's going to be a lot of Porsche advocates out there who I hope come across this video are going to say the only true 914 was the 914-6. That was the same motor as the 911. That has the 911 brakes, the 911 suspension. And that's true. That's why that car was magnificent. That's why that car was rocking. That's why they only made that car for 2 years, though, was because it really did hurt and damage the sales of the 914-4, as well as a lot of people basically reference that as a poor man's 911, and obviously that wasn't the purpose behind the car. Now, the 914-6, 1970 and 1972, this for me would be a buy. And of course, everything I say is just my opinion. There's going to be a lot of other motorheads out there that might not share this opinion, so I'm putting myself out on a limb there. That's the one I would buy. 110 horsepower, V6 or flat 6, in a very tiny little 2,800-pound car. Car rides like it's on a cable car rail. You could put it anywhere. I thought my driving times that I've had with the 914, I have had nothing but fun in the car. I've never had the privilege to drive a 914-6 because they're so hard to find. They're ridiculously hard to find. Definitely a collector's piece. Just, I think, a stellar car. Everyone that I've talked to about it are pretty high. I know one person, my uncle actually owned one, and he enjoyed it from what we've talked about the car. Now, the 914-4, now that was the car that they really played with. Now, why Porsche kind of really ruined it with this is because in Europe, they badged this car as a Volkswagen. So basically that tainted all possibilities of that being successful here in the States. Remember, we're a very image-driven country. So they played with the motor. They did all these things year after year after year after year to really try to get it really right in the right spot. And they never really hit the nail on the head. The car was first released with a 1.7-liter four-cylinder, 85 horsepower, kind of a little under the radar in terms of performance, even though I do believe in 70 or 71, I did actually look this up. MotorTrend named this the #1 import for the year. I mean, the car was really great. It was a lot of fun. Just never got the respect that it deserved. Now, for time purpose, I'm not going to focus on every single engine that they offer in the car, which was a 1.7, 1.8, and a 2.0. But I do want to focus on, now it's a 2.0 six-cylinder and a 2.0 four-cylinder. On the 2.0 four-cylinder, and this is where a lot of people might say that's the one to go for, in the late to mid 70, 75, 76-ish, you have so many possibilities to basically tweak that motor and lift the performance of them. That four-cylinder was sitting at about 95 horsepower. With the proper, cutting out maybe a little extra body weight, maybe changing out the exhaust and changing this and changing that and doing what you gotta do, chipping it, whatever, you might be able to get that thing to 130, 140. And I've actually read on some forums that some people have done that. And at 140 horsepower and that tiny of a car with that kind of body weight, you're expecting high performance. So you're definitely getting some great aspects. But going back to that, now remember, the six-cylinder was only between 70 and 72. That's kind of the real gem. Hard to find, expensive to buy. 75, 76, the real four-cylinder you kind of want. Again, hard to find, kind of expensive to buy. So if you're getting a cheap 914, you're getting a cheap 914 for a reason. Because a lot of people don't really appreciate the 1.7, the 1.8, and it's just really not, I don't know if it's the right way to go. Now, the next thing I want to show you is another thing that a lot of people might not realize behind the car. This car was one of the very first Targets that Porsche highly manufactured. Obviously, I believe the 912 back in the 60s was the very first Porsche Targa, but this car basically only came like a Targa. And so the nose was slanted like this with these beautiful, first car like this also, now that I'm thinking about it, where the headlights were like this and they opened up at you. That is just gorgeous. They also carried that design over in the 944 in the 80s, and then obviously in the late 80s with the Porsche Turbo Slope Nose, which was a very popular and hot turbo. Still one of my favorite cars. So that was huge for them. The car has tons of racing heritage too. This car took like 6th place at Le Mans back in like 72 or something like that, 73. So I mean, oh, and that was with the GTS. This is another thing. Fact finder for all the real true Porsche enthusiasts out there. How many of you actually knew this? How many GTS Porsches did they actually make? The number would be 50. So I believe it was about 50 Porsche 914 6 GTS. So if someone's trying to sell you a Porsche 914 GTS, more than likely it was just a body kit car. It's not the real deal. Please do not be duped or fooled or pay too much for a car that really is not the GTS. And that car was a dream machine. That was the one that actually won Le Mans. So, I mean, bad to the bone car. But that's neither here nor there. You're not going to find one of those, I can assure you. But anyways, back to our little lesson. The back window, because it was a Targa, the back window was just like this card here. And the trunk came like this. Now remember, the engine is sitting right here basically. Okay, so across the window, right here. Wait, let me see if I can show you. Basically, this is the roof. Okay, so here's the trunk. Right here was like a vent. This is a vent for the engine. It actually is mesh. It's pretty sick, and it says Porsche right there. Because it was sitting like this versus like this, right? What happens? Water collects here. Water goes through this vent right here, and basically what happens when water and metal mix over time, things start to rust. So one of the biggest problems with the 914 is rust and battery. The battery was horrible on the car. But 914, forget the battery. Batteries are replaceable. Rust is an issue. You have to be very careful when buying a 914 because rust will destroy you. And so that, my friends, is the reason why I don't know, regardless of how awesome the car is, regardless of the fact that I wanted one, this is the reason why I did not get one. The 914 has a tendency to run at a high price if you want a mint one. If you want to get some junk, then yeah, it's affordable. But make sure you know a good mechanic, make sure you do not have rust, and make sure you're in the proper year. All three of those elements are going to lead you to maybe getting a 914. So, in the meantime, please email me if you have any more specific questions. I could talk about the 914 for 3 hours. I love the car. But to keep it short and sweet, you have to keep on motoring.